Thomas, it's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Good evening to another edition of Arsenal Lounge and welcome. Mubarak, Ramadan Mubarak to all my Muslim brothers and sisters out there, and a big hello to the panelists and everyone that's coming into the chats today. Before we get going, usual, we're going to say hello to the panelists. So I'll start with Rodegaard himself, who had a blinder over the weekend. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Just enjoying life at the moment as an Arsenal fan. I'm sure you are too. You was at the game. We'll talk about that later on. And Mo, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Listen, I wasn't
quiet
good. Pardon?
Eating on the sly there, having a little munch.
Sure. Listen, I just broke my fast. So throughout this, whenever I get asked a question, I'm going to be like, I don't know, what does Tom think? And I'm just going to munch on some sweets.
I'm going to be doing exactly the same as you.
But basically, I'm good. I'm a lot better than I was after the high and the low from Salah scoring to Man City putting on a masterclass. But obviously Arsenal bounced back, so I'm in a good mood.
And just start straight away. We've got someone asking where Shaheen is as well. Shaheen is here in spirit, I am sure. And he is loving Odegaard's performances at the moment, I am sure also. So before, obviously, what we'll do first is we'll set the scene. So this weekend, just gone. Big weekend for us. We were hoping that Liverpool would do us a favour, and there was an early kickoff at 1:30 on a Saturday. Man City versus Liverpool at the Etihad. The lineups will go through really quickly. I'll just set the scene for you guys. So the lineups were, as expected, Ederson, Stones, Akanji, Ake, Diaz, Gundogan, Bruyne, Rodri, Alvarez, Grealish, and Mahrez. And then for Liverpool, you had Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Konate, Van Dijk, Elliott, Henderson, Fabinho, Salah, Gakpo, and Diego Jota. So, I mean, very quickly, I'm sure we were all tuned into this game, and we were probably really excited when Salah got the early goal. But lo and behold, Man City sort of upped the gears and slowly started to dismantle Liverpool. And before you know it, by the end of the game, 4-1. Some little highlights to talk about as well along the way. The weird celebration by Pep, which would have been really interesting had Arteta done that. God knows what would have happened. So, no points there. I mean, did any of you two watch the game? Did either of you watch the game? Mo, is it even worth asking you after last week?
No, listen, I don't watch internationals, but Premier League and even other European leagues, I tune into those. They're worth watching. And
okay.
I did watch the vast majority of this game, and I thought it was a brilliant game. I really did.
Yeah.
I look forward to Man City-Liverpool games. I think it's a fantastic rivalry. And I've said before, actually, I think the Arsenal-Man City rivalry is quite boring, actually, from what I've seen so far. Hopefully it explodes into something with a bit of aggro. But what I like about the Liverpool-Man City rivalry, that there's a lot of mutual respect, a lot of admiration, and even like what Guardiola did, that celebration, bang out of order. And any sort of real rivalry that's got any element of animosity, that would have ended very differently. But I think it really goes to show the level of respect, because even after he did that, he sort of tapped Tsimikas, and it was taken as it was probably meant by Guardiola, like a little bit of a laugh as you would with your mates almost. But I mean, weird to see, because what you're expecting as a football fan in a big rivalry that we've seen for the last 5 years is someone to get pushed or, someone to square up. But none of that. I think it's telling of the rivalry. But on a footballing term, really good rivalry, brilliant game. And I thought this could be interesting. And then after half time, well, that's when just got taken away.
You're on mute, mate.
Well, Muppet. You're still on mute.
I did it this time. I haven't done it for ages, but I've done it. I only put myself on mute because someone decided to knock on the door for some reason, and I had to just try and cut it out. But there you go. Yeah. I know. But Tom, you watched the game. Thanks for breaking that down, Mo. That was perfect. What did you think? I mean, a little bit disappointed in Liverpool myself personally.
Yeah, I got into the press lounge a bit earlier because obviously they have screens in the press lounge, so they show
Press
the game.
lounge.
I mean, it's
Press
just where I
lounge.
was, mate. I can't lie to you. It's just where I was, and
Press friends.
and we were all watching like on the same screen, all like the Arsenal journalists lot, and
So you watch it together. All the journos watch it together in this.
We're the people that are like, so obviously there's a lot of people in the press lounge, from like TV to broadcast to print journalists. Obviously, all the print journalists like myself, sit in the same section. And it was just me and James Ben just basically just shitting ourselves every single time Man City got close to the goal in the first few moments. And, when Salah scored, all we could think about was how mad the Tollington must have erupted when Salah scored.
Yeah.
And I wish there had been a fly on the wall in there to see what that would have been like, because, it was a real moment in the press lounge of like, wow, like, is this going to happen? No, it's not. Man City just came back and absolutely blitzed them. Liverpool, if anything, it should give Arsenal lots of encouragement going to Anfield, that they can be got at, that defensively they're really flawed, that yes, they've got a threat in attack that we need to be wary of. But look, they are a team that are there, in my view, for the taking in any game that they play. And a lot of teams have done that to them this season, including us, of course, at the start of the season. And it'll be interesting to see a managerless Chelsea take them on tomorrow, I think it is. So, it'll be intriguing to see that one. But I think it should, if anything, even though it's not the result we wanted, embolden us towards that fixture.
Yeah, I mean, it all could have been really different had Salah made the right decision on that breakaway. All could have been so different. Everyone was lauding Grealish for getting back, which was brilliant. What he did get back really, really well. But I think Salah made the wrong choice there. And had he made, he maybe took him on one-on-one, he's not a defender. It could have been 2-0 for all you know. And instead they go up there a minute later, equalise, and we know what happened. So obviously we're looking at this now thinking, well, we can't afford to slip up going into the game at 3:00. We had our lineup. Now, obviously, Saliba was out injured with Holding coming in, but we had Ramsdale, White, Zinchenko, Holding, Gabriel Magalhaes, Odegaard, Xhaka, Partey, Trossard, Jesus, and Martinelli. And for Leeds, you had Meslier, Firpo, Ayling. How do you pronounce this? Is it Struijk? Is that right, Tom?
Struijk, yeah.
Struijk, yeah. And then Koch. Is that right?
That's also right, yeah. Robin Koch.
Good. I'm so childish. Christensen, Roca, Aronson, Sinistera, Somerville, and Harrison. Now, slow start for Arsenal in this game. I'm sure you, Mo, you was at the game. Tom, you was at the game. Mo, run me through this game in how you saw it in your eyes initially.
Well, initially, first phase of play, first attack of the game, I was thinking, what the hell? Bournemouth all over again. And it's interesting because they seem to target us in the same way. I don't know if you remember, went down the Leeds right, and they got a really quick target. Ramsdale made a save within like the first 10 seconds, it seemed. But that was it. That was kind of like maybe a good insight as to how the game will go for the next half an hour. And it was actually Leeds. They were the better team. They tested Ramsdale quite a lot. They had chances. And we got a little bit fortunate. Obviously, we were defended well. And that's a hallmark of Arsenal this season, that even when we are under pressure, we seem to survive the spell that the other team has. And their spell was certainly in the first 30 minutes. What I really liked about the first 30 minutes, even though it didn't necessarily go the way I expected or wanted, was that our players, and especially our attackers, mucked in. They realised that you're going to need to earn the right to play. And in the past, I've often been annoyed at the fact that sometimes Arsenal will go out, and because we're better technically, we feel like we've got this God-given right to win. I feel like it's something that I've seen in the past, and it's a case of no. No one else thinks that. So if you think that, it's only going to do you a disservice. And other teams don't respect you that much. So this time, Martinelli was getting back, really helping out. Everyone was working hard. Second ball was brilliant. I remember one ball that got knocked into, we had a set piece, it got knocked into their box. It was an awful pass. But that second ball, the way everyone converged on that second ball just made me realize that it's like a reflex. This team has got ingrained in them that as soon as that ball's loose, they're on it. As soon as that ball gets turned over, they're on it. So I really like that aspect of play in the first 30 minutes. Well, in the next 60, we scored 4 goals and looked really good at times. So, that and Jesus' return pleased me a lot about the game.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I was going to say, one thing I didn't mention when discussing the lineups is obviously Saka was unwell and Jesus came in. And I, for one, have to say, seeing Jesus up top just reminded us just what it's like, having him back, what it's like without him, because the way he holds the ball up for me, for a smaller player, the way he can, the problems he causes and the work rate he puts in. I did think we lacked a little bit defensively with Trossard there instead of Saka. However, Trossard did come good later on in the game. But Tom, I don't want to go into it too much here. I'm more interested about how you guys saw it. I mean, you've heard what Moh had to say on the game. What was your take on it, and what were the things that stood out for you most in this particular game and any particular players?
Yeah, look, I don't think it was an amazing performance by any stretch of the imagination, and I thought there was a lot of similarities in the first half to perhaps the Crystal Palace game, perhaps the Everton game at home. We scored 4 goals in both of those games, but you don't look at them and say, overall, it was an amazing display. And we had to defend ourselves, and Ramsdale had to pull off a few saves, which he's been doing on a regular occasion, maybe going a bit under the radar for his own performances in some of these fixtures. But ultimately, we came through a game without our star boy starting, with a different structure of our forward line again. Obviously, no William Saliba again. 2 key of our starters of our usual 11 not in that team. It's also said that beyond Saka, there was also other players that were there that weren't feeling great, that were able to start but had been ill. Ben White was said to be one of those as well.
What was the illness, Tom? What was
I don't know, just a bug. Just one of those bugs that go around in the winter and early spring months, it seems. But yeah,
okay.
I heard it must have been a few minutes before the Lions were announced that Saka weren't going to be there, and then all of a sudden it started kind of filtering through the press lounge and people getting concerned and saying, well, who starts? And I was sitting there saying, I think I would have liked to have seen Jesus start on the right and seen Trossard continued through the middle.
Really?
And I think it was probably Trossard's quietest performance, because he was playing in a position he's not played in, not even for, Brighton this season either. He's been playing at centre forward and left wing, attacking midfield for either Brighton or Arsenal, but he's not played on the right. And he was more subdued because obviously he's adapted to that new position that he's playing in. And I think that there is an argument that Jesus could have started right. But at the end of the day, we know that we're going to go to Liverpool with Jesus, I think, starting up top. And so it was the best way to bed Jesus back into the team as the centre forward. And I know that we've managed to maintain the gap to Man City, which obviously is credit to Nketiah, credit to Trossard as well, who filled in his absence. But my goodness, it shows you the difference he makes to a team when he's in it. Just the movement, the collaboration, the way in which he draws players out, draws players into tackles, which obviously won the penalty. I don't care anyone arguing it was soft. It's not soft. He kicks him on the knee. Try and get kicked on the knee when you're running, you're going down. So I think that it's great to see him back. It was probably the right decision, obviously, to play him through the middle, because it then sets up Saka returning on the right-hand side and Jesus and Martinelli playing. And I thought Martinelli in the first half was probably our brightest player. Was certainly a player that was looking lively. A lot of our attacks going down that left-hand side. But then in the second half, obviously with that early goal, we just took control of the game. Ben White scoring, great finish.
It was a great cross by Martinelli. He picked him out beautifully. You see Ben White sticking his hand up at the far post. But the timing of the run and the pass itself were perfect.
Absolutely perfect. And that's the first time in his senior career he's scored more than 1 goal in a season for Ben White. Wow. So obviously he's been playing centre-back most of the time in his career, which is not all that surprising, but he is developing that side of his game. He is getting in the right place. And yeah, it was a good finish.
No, I agree with you, mate. I mean, obviously, the penalty, you hit the nail on the head with regards to what we're missing without Jesus. In these tighter games, I think having Jesus back is going to prove crucial, because what we have struggled with is when teams do sit back against us and put numbers behind the ball. But what Jesus does have the ability to do is get in the box, back into defenders, create space in the tightest of areas. And we saw that. It was a prime example with a penalty. And then the build up for the third goal in the 55th minute, where Jesus he's deeper than a normal striker would be, picks out Trossard. Great first touch by Trossard, by the way. And then that cross is underrated because he had players in front of him, Trossard, and he still managed to pick out Jesus, who made the perfect run. And that was a real striker's goal, that the run he made. So I'm hoping he continues that. The one blip on the game, we never seem to keep a clean sheet. And who got the prediction right, by the way? Was that you, Tom? Who's got 4-1? Did anyone get 4-1?
I did.
Are you just saying that again, Mo? Or you actually?
Yeah. I had 3-1. So
no one had 4-1.
I had 4-0. So as soon as they scored, I don't think I've punched a desk harder than when they scored.
Well, I had 3-0.
That was all I was thinking about.
And Led, you tweeted on Twitter who had 4-1, lad. So I thought you had. I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, it was a genuine question because I had 3-0.
Because I thought
I think it was 3-0, 3-1, and 4-0.
Yeah.
So no, it was literally like one goal away for everyone from having their right scoreline.
Well, it feels like we should get a point and a half, Tom. You and I. I got 3-1. You got 4-0.
Yeah, yeah. What did Shaheen say?
2-0.
I think he said 2-0.
Shaheen is on fire at the moment. He's consistently poor, not even close. At least us three were close. But I'll tell you what, the goal, Christensen had a little an effort earlier on in the game from the edge of the box. That was a little concern.
First minute.
Yeah.
It was shot in the first minute. Yeah,
it was a concern. No, later on in the game he had another one, but it was a terrible shot. But it was a bit of a concern. But that was a deflection. Is there a question mark? Could Ramsdale have done better with that?
No,
Zinchenko's the one to look at.
Yeah, turning his back on the ball.
And also Xhaka as well. The way he dangled the leg out and it broke to the edge of the box. I think maybe he could do a bit better, but Ramsdale the least, I'd say.
Yeah, fair enough. And then that fourth goal. Tell you what, that was another great little goal there. Odegaard, that ball into Xhaka and the movement was just sublime. And, 4-1. So we can't argue. Man City went in 4-1. We responded with 4-1. And it's seemingly now the likes of your Nevilles and some of these other pundits that have been waiting for us to have a blip. That response, the run of games we've had since dropping points against City is phenomenal, right? It's just... Yeah. How many wins is that now, guys? 7. Is that 5? 7. 7 games in a row. Yeah. That's a brilliant comeback. So should we be concerned about our slow starts though? Because if you want to start getting a bit more niggly with these big games coming up, we seem to be starting a little slow of late, and maybe a better side would have punished us earlier on. So that's something we should be concerned about. Tom?
I think it's more so that we actually have quite a fast start in the first 5 to 10 minutes. But if we don't score in those 5 to 10 minutes, there's then like a dip between the 10th and the 30th minute. Then it goes a bit quiet. And we've seen that happen across quite a few of the games, Everton being one, Palace being the other. And of course, today as well, Bournemouth. Obviously, we started slowly in that, going 2-0 down by the start of the second half. So I think there is an argument to suggest that we need to be a little bit more on it. But I do think those 5 to 10 minutes at the start, we're still starting well. We're just not being clinical with those chances in the first 5. If Arsenal can score in the first 5 to 10 minutes of games, it's theirs, and usually the teams just kind of fold away at that point. But gradually the teams, the longer it takes Arsenal to score, they get more emboldened. They think they're going to get a result. They dig in more. They're good on the counter. We've come up against some teams like Palace, like Leeds that are good on the counter. Players like Zaha, players like Somerville, who I thought is a really exciting young player, looked great, I thought, on the day.
Yeah.
He's one to keep an eye on.
A few problems, yeah.
And I think that those teams are going to be the ones where you go at the end of the season. You know what? We've really struggled to break teams down in the past few seasons like that. They've come to the Emirates, set up shop, done their job. And this season, actually, the teams in which we've done quite well against, the ones that come out against us more, which is why we've got a fair few goals against Liverpool at the start of the season, against Man United when they came to the Emirates as well. We're getting results against teams that are more open. So when we go to Anfield, I'm hoping that again kind of leans into our favour and we can go at that game and play our game more successfully, because they're not going to be able to sit in with someone like Trent doing what he does on the right-hand side.
I mean, what is standing out for me at the moment, having spoken to both of you, we weren't at our best on Saturday, but we're still beating teams 4-1.
Yeah.
That's got to say quite a lot about us as a team right now. That forward line. Now, I did a poll on this, but before we do that, very quickly, some player ratings. So let's start with you, Mo. Ramsdale, out of 10. I've got you while you're eating as well.
Yeah, no, I'm saying 7. But he didn't pull off any brilliant saves, but he was good. He was a good, 7.5. I'm going to go in the half, 7.5. Had he pulled off that save for the goal that they scored, I would have said that's a fantastic save, and therefore he gets an 8, maybe more. But 7.5 didn't do much wrong.
Fair enough. Right back, White, Tom.
9. I think again, just great. He scored a goal, obviously. I was listening to the Vision podcast, and I agree with Clive. I think he's probably the best right back in the league this season, which is mad considering he wasn't one.
No.
I'm not going to ask that question again. I'm not going to ask that question.
I still think it's Trippier. I think he had a real dip between January and March.
Ben White had a dip as well. He got taken out of the team for Tomiyasu. Right? I still think
only
it's
one game though. That's the only game I look at.
I think that's more of a reflection on Tomiyasu not seizing the opportunity.
How he's not in that England squad? How he's not in that England squad?
Well,
he's ridiculous. He's so versatile. It's no worth even discussing, is it?
I mean, against United, got another assist. He's just fantastic for them when you watch them play. Because they're so good defensively, like Arsenal. But his attacking output is great. He's basically doing what everyone thought Alexander-Arnold would do this season in a way. So
would you rather have Trippier in than White?
For Arsenal, I wouldn't change a thing for Arsenal. Because, obviously any change will upset the dynamic. And that triangle, this is one area of Arsenal's play this season that people haven't spoken enough about. Saka, Ødegaard, White. What they do in that triangle, they just retain possession there, play around with it, and create space elsewhere. At one point, Saka had 3 people around him, and he always knows he's got an out ball with Saka and Ødegaard, and then that sort of like reverse underlap ball in between centre-back and left-back that Ødegaard can play. We do unbelievable work there. So I'd never upset that triangle. It's really underrated part of Arsenal's play.
And the ceiling's higher with White as well, isn't it? Really?
Of course. I think it's more in the context of just this season. The reason why I think that Trippier is viewed upon as kind of being the best right back is just because he's got 6 assists this season, and he does so much going forwards. But I think that White overall has been the better player. But the amount of wingers that he has shut out this season is a joke. He has shut out so many. And I know he's had William Saliba next to him. If you go back and watch the Crystal Palace game, first game of the season, Zaha did not get a sniff the entire game. And he's gone up against other wingers throughout the campaign, and I think has been absolutely up there with our best players. And that's why I think for me, he's been the best right back in the league.
Do you know how many goals Newcastle have conceded less than Arsenal? So we've conceded 27. Do you know how many goals they've conceded? 19.
Yeah, but I think that's more to do with their style than
a lot more pragmatic, though, aren't they?
But he is part of that defense. You can be as pragmatic as you want, but he's still part of that defense. 19 goals in 27 games is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal, but I think that it's more to do with the system than it is the individuals. I think it's the collection.
Yeah, I hear that. They've obviously scored a hell of a lot less than us. But for me, trying to be really objective about this, I would still say Trippier.
Stop it.
Yeah, you're right. Screw it.
Question though. Obviously, Ben White's natural position is we've gone away from the ratings, but while we're at it, we might as well. Ben White's natural position is meant to be centre back. Can we argue now that he's settled in that right back position? Will we ever move him from there?
I mean, Saliba is probably the biggest reason why he's not going to move from there. I think that Arsenal need to look at signing a right back, as we talked about before, because I think we need variation as kind of something different to bring into the team. But Saliba is there. I think obviously we're going to be looking at a right-sided centre-back in the summer anyway. So that right-hand defensive side is going to get, I think, some reinforcement this summer, which is a good idea. But you're right that we probably won't move White out of that position because him and Saliba have been the best they could possibly be in those areas.
It's crazy. Okay, well, I'll have Holding then. It's not usually my favourite player to rate, but I'll have to give him a solid. What should I say? I'll do a Moh and give him 7.5. I don't think he did much wrong. You could certainly tell the difference without Saliba at the back when you've got Holding, and you are worried you can't play as high a line as you might normally be able to and get away with it. And also you notice it from a technical perspective when you're building up from the back. Saliba's just got a bit more about him, well, quite a lot more about him, but 7.5. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I felt like Gabriel was slightly less assertive than usual, and I think that's a reflection of the fact that he's not playing with his usual partner Saliba. But Holding, listen, a £2 million buy from Bolton all those years ago, for him to come in and replace Saliba whilst the team's doing so well and there's so much to lose and there's so much pressure, he's done really, really well so far.
Okay, so who's next? Did you, Tom? Gabriel?
Yeah.
That was a high pitch.
I thought he would
realise he would go that high.
No, he's not a 9. I think I would have put him down as an 8. I get the. It's just like when you, and maybe it's something from being in the stadium. I've watched back the game on TV as well, but like seeing Gabriel when you're at like eye level with the players, he's unbelievably good. Like he has come on so much. I don't think there's anyone else in this team that's in. And I count Saka, I count Smith Rowe, Martinelli. I don't think anyone has come on as much as Gabriel Magalhaes has. I think he has been unbelievable. His presence, his intimidation of defenders, his physical prowess, his intelligence with his passing, his technical ability has dramatically increased since joining under Arteta. I think that he is pound for pound the best centre-back in the league this season. Wow. And I just think he is a brilliant, brilliant player and doesn't get anywhere near enough credit as he does. I mean, we talk about him a lot because we're Arsenal fans. But in the wider media, when you see punditry and people assessing Arsenal and looking at the title race and who's the team of the season, if Gabriel isn't in whoever doesn't put Gabriel in their team this season just hasn't watched him. Has not watched him this season. It's as simple as that.
No, I agree. I mean, it literally, it's during the season he's improved as well, because he was making some rash sort of decisions earlier on in the season, but don't want to jinx it, touch wood, but he seems to have eradicated that over the course of the season. He's a lot more solid. He's a perfect foil for Saliba. Those two, the way they work, the aggression and the grace and the poise of Saliba works perfectly together. So I'll have to agree with you on that. So on the other side, Mo, Zinchenko.
Zinchenko, just brilliant as usual. I mean, he's just such a solid player. Just such a solid player. Gives us that ability to play this tactical game that we like to play. You think about the fact that we all know inverted left back, comes into midfield very, very regularly. When does he ever get caught out? When is there a right winger that's always in acres of space? And I know that's partly system. It's also partly Zinchenko's intelligence and powers of recovery. I'll give him an 8.
Well, I can't argue with you on that. So we'll move into midfield. Should we start in the middle? We'll start in the middle. So you had Thomas Partey. I'll take this one, guys. For me, Thomas Partey is the best centre midfielder we have had since Patrick Vieira. And that is a big statement, because when you watch... defensive. Yeah, but that's, whatever you want to call him, DM, central, he's just a midfielder in general. He is the Fabregas, best.
Ozil, you know.
Yeah, I know, but I'm comparing him to what Vieira used to do for us, for example, right? Yeah. We haven't had a player like that in a long, long time. But it's not just like his defensive capabilities. It's the way he's on the ball, how calm he is on the ball, how he creates space for himself. The passing between the lines, he always seems to pick the right pass. He always seems to move away from players in tight areas. I love watching him. He's a great midfielder. I'll give him a strong 8 in this game. I like him that much. I'll probably give him more, but 8 being realistic. Thoughts? All right with that?
Yep.
All right, Jack. Pass completion.
Unbelievable.
In that area of the pitch.
96. Wow, brilliant. Xhaka, I'll give you Xhaka, Tom.
It's got a great goal. It's a shame I'm not going to be able to talk about Odegaard's, because for me, you know.
Do you want to talk about Odegaard?
Yeah, I'd happily transfer my Xhaka to Mo.
All right, transfer your Xhaka to Mo, because you've got Odegaard on your mic, so I'll let you have that. Mo, okay. Xhaka.
Just brilliant. 4 recoveries, 2 interceptions. 100% of his tackles he won, 100% long balls.
All off the top of his head.
It's just brilliant. And then he capped it off with a goal, 94% pass accuracy. When you've got Xhaka and Partey in the middle of the pitch, and that's what they're doing, they're never, ever giving the ball away. Their long balls are good, because even Partey's stats were incredible for the game. You know, both of them are absolutely brilliant. I'll give Xhaka, he got the goal, so 8.5 out of 10. Fantastic performance, and we're not surprised anymore.
No, it's unbelievable. What a turnaround. I actually love Xhaka now. I can't ask me that 2 years ago. I would have never thought it. So, yep, I agree with you. Okay, so Tom, no surprises who you have then.
I thought it was terrible, mate.
Yeah, after all that. I wish Shaheen was here for this. Yeah.
That assist was his 18th league goal contribution of the campaign, like for Xhaka. And I just, every time we talk about Odegaard, I go back to last season where the main challenge, and the season before that as well when he was on loan, the challenge was always get more than double digits of goals, get into double digits of goal contributions, So to be on 18 for the season with 10 goals and 8 assists is just brilliant. And he's so different when he's not in the team to when he is. And I don't like the fact that obviously that's led to, I think, a lot of underrating of Fabio Vieira's contribution this season. The thing is, Fabio Vieira just is not Martin Odegaard yet. Maybe one day, and he's still got 2 years on the player. But I think Odegaard obviously was playing at a much higher level 2 years ago anyway. So he's always going to be ahead of him. And I think Vieira's role maybe will transition more so into the Granit Xhaka position, as that's where we saw him come on. And Smith Rowe actually came on to play in the Odegaard role. So we'll see if that has any indication for the future. I'm not sure it does for Smith Rowe, but I think it does more so for Vieira. But yeah, Odegaard's movement, just the way in which he demands the ball. In the first minutes ago, I don't know if anyone noticed this, but when we did start quickly, and you probably saw, when they had that shot and then we countered, and I think we overplayed it a little bit, but Odegaard was running around the corner of the pitch, just like geeing everyone in the crowd up in the corner in the first moment of the game. Like, he just lives and breathes this club now. And he is Mikel Arteta kind of on the field, if you like. And that is why he is captain. There was a lot of questions about why Martin Odegaard has been named captain, but he has justified that decision because he is the manager, or as Ramsdale says, he is El Parcio on the field, because that's what you need from your captain. It's a reincarnation, if you like, of the manager, the head coach on the field. And that's exactly what it is. But I'll give him an 8 out of 10 for that performance.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Very solid.
Agree.
I think just on Odegaard, he embodies a sort of modern day player that plays in that role, because those ones that think, I don't have to do the dirty element because I'm so good at doing the other stuff. That's long gone now. And he's the sort of player that you can imagine will never ever be late, for training, will never ever be out when he shouldn't be. He seems to be such a good professional, so focused and concentrated and happy to do the ugly parts of the game, and then also goes and does all the lovely highlight reel stuff as well. Manager's dream when you see someone like Odegaard.
No, I agree with you. And do you know what? We mentioned I mentioned a little bit earlier, we haven't had a player like that when we came to Partey in regards to Vieira-esque. Odegaard is that sort of player we haven't had for a long time either. The Fabregas type, the Santi Cazorla type, orchestrated sort of player that we've been lacking for so long. But he's just got so much ability. It's ridiculous on the ball. So brilliant player. So what, we on the front three now, are we? Okay, so I will... Who should we go with? I'll go with Trossard, because it's a difficult one. Trossard, for me, I don't think, as Tom alluded to a little bit earlier, I don't think Trossard had his best game. I think in the first half, you could notice the difference of Saka when Saka wasn't there, because Saka is an outball, and Saka can have a man behind him, and he can still hold the ball and feed it into play or cut inside. I think Trossard's a little bit different in the way he plays, but he definitely came into himself second half with the way he makes runs in behind and links up play with Jesus and others around him. I'll have to say a 7.5 for Trossard. You lot all right with that?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant assist. There you go.
Brilliant assist.
Yeah.
It's just like you think he doesn't. He's just done it for like instinct, but he's not. He checks over his shoulder before he does that spin the other way and just catches a glimpse of Jesus making that run, and he just knows he's going to be there.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
It's brilliant. When you watched it a few times, the ball was perfect. Jesus, I will give to Mo.
Jesus, man. You know, I give him a 9. And the reason I give him a 9 is because we were not playing well until we scored that first goal. That moment in the area where other people panic or they're not comfortable having that ball at their feet. Jesus, you know, we spoke about earlier that he can hold the ball up for a small guy. Anyone that's watching this, if you're a striker and you're not 6 foot plus, you know, built and stuff, and you want to figure out how you can actually hold the ball up and take pressure off the team, he's your guy to watch. He does it because he's willing to work harder, run faster, unbelievably good on the ball, first touch perfect. You don't know which way he's going to go. Equally comfortable on both feet, it seems. Brilliant. And after putting one Leeds player down in their ass in the penalty area, people think that's it. Now he's going to put his foot through the ball. He doesn't. Puts another one down, and that's where he gets the contact. And it is a penalty because, he has been kicked on the knee, but it's a lucky penalty in that it's not that defender's even gone for the ball necessarily. It's not like a mistimed tackle. It's just you can't read him. You can't go down on the ground against Jesus because you can't read him. And it's all because of that moment that actually we take the game away from Leeds and we just kind of put a pin in their balloon, and that's it. Their confidence goes pop, and that gives us a platform. So for me, that moment in the game was so important, set us up for the victory in a game where we weren't actually playing very well, and takes all the pressure out of the occasion following Man City beating Liverpool 4-1. So, for me, my man of the match, and I give him a 9, and that's not even talking about his other goal.
Brilliant player. Absolutely brilliant player. I can't even speak any more highly about him. Tom, Martinelli. And I love Martinelli as well, by the way.
Yeah, I think Jesus probably just edges him. So 8.5 for Martinelli. The first half, I thought he was our best player, to be honest. You know, he was we were always threatening down that left-hand side, running in behind. His big challenge now as he develops is learning to do what Jack Grealish does, and that's by just riding challenges, making sure he's not injured because he's going to get targeted. You know, he's going to get kicked, he's going to get whacked, and he has to learn how to kind of just jump ahead of those challenges like Grealish does so well. That's why Grealish is rarely ever injured, even though he has the most fouls, I think, in the league, is because he knows how to deal with when people slide in, still win the foul, but jump in a way that he avoids the big contact. And I think Martinelli's showing certainly that he's doing that, but it's just the speed that he has on the turn, the awareness. I was gutted that his long range strike wasn't a little bit more powerful, because that would have been
right with it, did he?
The only reason he shot, by the way, is because everyone in the crowd shouted shoot. That's the only reason that he knew that he was going to be able to. Obviously, he knew that Meslier was off his line, but he still managed to execute a decent volley, and you know, Ayling nearly messed it up when he tried to defend it as well. So it was good instinct. And the big thing that I have as a criticism for Martinelli, and me and Kai were talking about this in the ground, is that he does run with his head down a little bit too much at times. And when he's kind of in that, when he's at the point where he wants to run to the byline, which he does really well, he takes an extra touch because he's not looked up quick enough to notice what's on. And sometimes when he takes that extra touch, he should have crossed at the point before that, or he should have played a pass. That is a big criticism I've got of him. And it's probably if he can turn that into looking up and being a better creator, you know, you're looking at a player with the full package. That's the only real thing I have that goes against him. There was a point in the first half where he ran it off on the left-hand side. And I was like, I just wish he would look up a little bit more, like Trossard does. And that comes with experience. And that's why Trossard's 7 years older than him. So, yeah.
I was just about to say that. It comes with experience. And now we've had this discussion. It's sort of highlighted something for me throughout the team, because this is a team that's very young still and learning on the job, much like the manager. But a lot of these players have had little spells, including Saliba, who's injured at the moment, where they had a little dip in form. Saliba's had a dip in form. Gabriel was making mistakes earlier on in the season. Saka had a dip in form. Martinelli had a dip in form. But then they've kicked on from that. So I think that's a sign that these players are intelligent and learning as they go on. They're only going to improve. So before we push on any more, just want to say hello to a few people in the chats. We got Richard Francis, who says I forgive Jesus, but for missing the header, I was sinful. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Charlie, hello, mate. Good to see you. Matthew D'Souza says Grealish has the calf muscles of a hippo. Thanks for sharing that with us. Yeah, I've brought it up twice. Don't know why. Charlie, he's so good, much better than I ever expected. I think he's referring to Jesus. We've got
you, Liv.
Oh, yeah.
About you, mate.
Oh, yeah, maybe, mate. Yeah. Maybe. Who knows? We've got a few irregulars in here. Mr. I think Takado. We've got Red Rain, Tamino Ahmed, Mr. Bravo, CM War Games. We've been talking. Oh, CM War Games. Where's the stats that you were going to provide in regards to who was it? In regards to it was you was having, it was me. Yeah, it was you. Yeah. It was you, Tom. In regards to your article, but I never saw them.
It was about Declan Rice, wasn't it?
Yeah. He thinks Declan Rice is overrated or something like that. I think
he said he might have emailed you actually. So maybe
I've looked. I haven't received anything. Omar Dino, Edison Metavir, all you guys, if you haven't smashed the likes already, please do so. Now, very quickly, I did a poll a little bit early on just to gauge it, and I want to ask you guys this because this is a bit of a conundrum here. So with this front three we have at the moment, obviously Jesus is back now. You can't knock Trossard because he's had a ridiculous amount of assists. So bearing in mind we've got this front three going on at the moment, who would you guys, and I'd like to ask this in the chat as well, please answer, out of the front three now, who do we drop? That's what I'd like to know because, I mean, obviously Jesus has just returned. He scored 2 goals. It's difficult to drop him now. Saka is going to return, and he's definitely one of the first names on the team sheet. Martinelli's been playing great, but Trossard's been playing great. So who would you guys drop? I'll start with you, Mo. Who's your preferred front three? It's a difficult question.
Really, really tough question. Who the hell deserves to not play?
Yeah.
You know, they're all brilliant. They all come in. They all do an incredible job. And, you know, no matter what I say, you can rip it apart. And I'm going to say Jesus, Martinelli and Saka have to play. But you know, if Leandro Trossard's in front of me saying, why have you not selected me, and shows me all of his numbers and how brilliantly he's done, I'll be like, yeah, sorry, you're right. You know, Martinelli's dropped. Martinelli will come up to me. All right, Saka drop. You know, it's just never ending. So the good thing is, I remember at times looking at our bench and thinking, if this game doesn't go to plan, we're really going to struggle. And I don't think that anymore. We've got people come off the bench. And to have any one of those 4 that you don't put on the pitch, they're sitting there with Reece Nelson, Emile Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira, ready to come off the bench and change the game. So that's my front 3, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong.
Tom, I'll come to you with this. So before I do, I'll just make it a little bit more difficult for you, because Charlie's come up with a great point here. Honestly, don't know going to Anfield because Trossard scored a hat-trick there already, and they will fear him. So before I throw that in there before you answer with the Liverpool game looming.
If Trossard starts, it only can be for Jesus, because Martinelli is going to have the time of his life against Trent Alexander-Arnold if he starts.
Good point.
And I think that, you know, Trossard is great, and I love this problem. I love the fact that we've, you know, been able to bring someone in that's given us a headache. But Trossard's best performances have come in that centre-forward role where he's been deputising for Jesus, where he's getting all those assists. I know we got another assist playing on the right, of course. But, you know, his combination with Martinelli has been what's so good about those two when they play together. So if you start Trossard, you can't put him in the place of the person that he works with the best, because that's counterintuitive. So I think Trossard, just by that, is obviously going to be dropped. It will be Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli, and that's the right choice. And I think that you can throw Trossard in the second half. You know, isn't it nice to have all these attacking options? And Nketiah is apparently not far away from coming back, so you're going to have a bench of Nketiah, Trossard, Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira, all that can come off the bench if you want to change things in your forward line. Obviously, Nelson's around as well if you ever want to use him. It's just the wealth of attacking talent we've got now is getting akin to that of of Man City, and that's where we need to move to. And I think we'll probably see another forward come in the summer, and that'll add another string to our bow. And yeah, it's just about establishing ourselves and reinforcing those areas is what's going to be key.
No, good point. So we're all in agreement then that it would be Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka for us. But what a great problem to have, and what a great man to bring on from the bench. Somebody that's playing as well as Trossard is. So brilliant problem to have. Now, very quickly, news-wise, any news on the Saliba front? Tom, anyone heard anything? Do we know he's with Liverpool looming? Do you think if they're going to sort of try to manage his injury, do you think they will play him or risk him against Liverpool?
If he's not ready, don't play him. It's as simple as that. Like, I know we talk about pain injections and stuff like that, but it could be that you can rest him to a point where he's fit enough to play the last 2, 3, 4 games of the season. And I'd much rather have him for those games than throw him in with a pain injection for this one. I know that it's Anfield. I know that, we'd rather have Saliba playing, and some people would say they'd rather have a 50% Saliba than 100% holding player. But I'd rather have potentially be able to have Saliba for the last few games of the season, if that's possible, than throwing him in this one, or throwing him at the Etihad, like if that's another option for us. So, but yeah, the holding starts for this one. In terms of anything we've heard, as Arteta said, it's a back injury, and they're really, really difficult to kind of predict how they might evolve. The good thing is that he said that the medical team are really positive about it, which is what you want to hear. But yeah, I saw him in the mix zone after the game, walk through, looking like he did after the Sporting game, and you just can't tell with these things how serious they are, how mitigating they are, because it's a back injury and they're really hard to know how that will affect his game. So it's impossible. Only the club will know, only Saliba will know in himself how confident he is. And yeah, but if it was up to me, there's no point risking him. No point at all.
Fair enough. I'll probably have to agree with you, as much as it hurts, because I love seeing him at the back. It just makes you feel a little bit more secure with Saliba at the back. But look, everyone's talking about each game being a cup final. We're down to 9 now. The 9th game now is going to be Liverpool against Arsenal at Anfield. Now, I don't think we've got the best of records there, and it's Sunday at 4:30. Now, I'll start with you, Mo. Having witnessed the way Liverpool have been playing of late, how are you feeling about this game now? And how much of an impact do you think it's going to have on the rest of the season?
Man, look, Liverpool destroyed Man United not too long ago. And then they've just gone and lost to Man City, when, as you say, with that Salah moment, when they were 1-0 up, on a different day, had he kind of thought, he's not a natural defender. Grealish is an attacker who's tracked back. I'm going to do something here and not rush it. Could have been very, very different. I don't know what to make of Liverpool. Clearly, they're on awful form. But if they win, they've got 2 games in hand on Liverpool, and if they on Tottenham, and if they win both, they're 2 points behind them. So they are not going to be. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but they're not going to be giving up on Champions League football. And if they lose against us, I think it puts a massive, massive dent in their hopes for Champions League football. If they beat the league leaders, they'll be looking at that as a sort of like moment to boost their season, which they should have been against Man United, but then they've obviously just reverted back. So I'm worried that they're going to get up for this game at Anfield. They're used to beating us. We don't have a very good time there generally, and I wonder if that'll be a factor. Matthew D'Souza put it in the comments as well. Salah on Zinchenko, I think, could be a really, really interesting one. We're talking about Martinelli on Trent. I'm thinking with Zinny, coming in, and Salah saying, no, fine, I'm just going to stick out here. I don't care. That could be a bit worrying. So I'm nervous. And I guess when we get to the predictions, it'll be interesting what we all go for, because I think for many, many games in a row now, I've said, yep, Arsenal win, Arsenal win, Arsenal win. And it's been quite clear on paper that we should win. This one is less clear for me.
Yeah, the problem is we don't know what type of Liverpool are going to turn up. Tom, how are you feeling about it, and how do you see it going?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right about it, actually. I just after watching them against City, like it made me more confident. Just watching that game, seeing how City were able to get at them, Seeing how passive they were. And I know it was at the Etihad and this is going to be at Anfield. So you'd imagine they try and approach the game differently and the emphasis on them at home to be more offensive. But, Arsenal, I think, can go into this game. Yes, obviously there's pressure, but I think there's more so, again, especially depending on what happens in Liverpool's game against Chelsea tomorrow, a managerless Chelsea that could be getting a bit of a bounce after losing Potter. Say if Liverpool lose that, there's so much pressure on them that they then need to turn this around after 2 defeats. And some people will say, you don't want to play them off the back of 2 defeats because then they're more motivated to win. But everyone knows what's up for grabs for both teams this season. They want to get back into the Champions League. They got a small chance of still being able to do that. So the pressure's going to be there anyway. We want them to come out and open up the spaces. We want to be able to just play our game within the gaps. And we've gone to Anfield before, and obviously under Arteta been humbled. He's got the experience of going there and losing his head and knowing that he doesn't need to do that. And we've got the experience of beating this Liverpool team when they are in arguably a better period of form than they've been in of late as well. And I think that being and having Partey, fingers crossed, fit, having everyone bar Saliba available is a big, big plus, of course, as well. And as Mo said earlier on, 7 wins is what we're on right now. We could not be in a better vein of form to go to Anfield. So, yeah, they will be worried. And for the first time, I think probably in the better part of a decade, Liverpool are going to be scared of Arsenal. And that's a great prospect.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I don't know. I mean, we had the best of runs at Anfield. So I am a little bit worried about it.
It's the last time we won. 2012.
So, I mean, look, we have won the title at Anfield before. Maybe this is a chance to sort of put our stamp on the title. If we were to win away, I mean, it seems like the one thing Gary Neville does is move goalposts, and he's hoping we're going to fall again at this hurdle. Well, if Arsenal beat Liverpool at Anfield, which is an extremely difficult thing to do, then I'll start believing. He's quoted it as 50-50, although he still thinks City are going to do it. But would a draw be the end of the world, guys?
Listen, if we draw at the Etihad against Man City, we need 6 wins and a draw to win the league. Okay? So if this is one of 2 draws that ends up in us winning the league at Nottingham Forest and we draw at the Etihad, then fine. It's not the end of the world at all. What happens in this game all depends on whether we avoid defeat at the Etihad. So, yes, we can afford to draw this game, provided we don't lose at the Etihad. That's it.
Yeah, well, there you go. And ironically, as Tom just mentioned as well, we'll be facing a Chelsea later on in the season, again without their old manager who was shipping goals.
City as well.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. So, predictions for the game, gents. I will start myself because I am still top, I believe. I am going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
I think that's the popular scoreline, isn't it? That's what you go for when you're top. 2-1 Arsenal.
That's what you do. You stick to form, don't you?
I'm going to go 2-2.
Let's go for a Desmond.
I'm going to say we match City's result against them. 4-1.
Wow. You think we're going to win 4-1 away at Anfield?
No, I don't. I'm just predicting that.
Well, that's the whole point. You're meant to try and guess the
yes.
Anyway,
I know I'm not going to win the league now, so I might as well will this stuff into existence. Like I've got the security that Shaheen is still playing. I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to will this.
You've avoided existence. Relegation, so you're all right.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. It's a free hit. Okay, so there you go, guys. Let us know in the chats. There's people saying Hugh saying 3-2 Arsenal. Paul James is saying 2-0. Charlie is saying 2-2 as well. So let's hope. I'll take any of those results. I'll be quite happy. So I just wanted to touch on other news before we go because we've got to shoot off sharpish today, as always. During this Ramadan period, will probably be like this. But look, in other news, Chelsea gets stuffed at home to Villa. Potter gets sacked. Now, I mentioned a few weeks ago that I thought that Chelsea were going to be looking for an excuse to sack Potter at any time, especially now that Nagelsmann has become available. Tottenham are also in the hunt for a new manager. Do you think it was the right decision, gents? I mean, I think it's a silly question to ask, but I'm asking it. Right decision, Tom?
Wrong decision to appoint him.
Yeah, wrong decision. Yeah.
And right decision given the circumstances to get rid of him. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I always felt like some people have mentioned Potter for Arsenal, and I always said like, no, I don't think that he's got the right level of experience to come and manage Arsenal. And I think we've seen that at Chelsea, where the expectation is so much higher. And you can't. I mean, 4 wins in the last 16 games, I think, for him. So I don't think you can survive at Chelsea with that sort of record without any goodwill in the bank.
Yeah, and there's a manager merry-go-round because obviously Leicester sacked Rodgers as well. So Tottenham are looking for a manager. Chelsea are looking for a manager. Do you think some have even mentioned that Levy's looking at Brendan Rodgers? Like, I hope that's true. To be honest with you,
I hope it's true.
Yeah.
I think if anyone's either one of Chelsea or Spurs get Ruben Amorim, who's the guy who knocked us out of the Europa League with Sporting, they've made a very good choice. Nagelsmann's interesting. Look, Potter was a terrible appointment, not because Potter's bad, but just because of he does not suit Chelsea. Chelsea are not a project club.
No,
and
they're here and now. Yeah,
exactly. And for Todd Bowley to go out and spend 600 million quid in 2 transfer windows and suggest that he's working on a project is a joke. You don't spend 600 million quid for a project. You just don't.
And not have a striker at it while you're doing it as well.
And guaranteed, it wasn't Graham Potter that said, I want him, and him. This was just scattergun. Here's a bunch of players.
Kid playing FIFA.
Long-term contracts. Make them good.
The Mudryk signing was just because we were in for him, and I feel sorry for the lad. And I think
they've done that a few times. Arsenal wanted Joao Felix on loan in January. We wanted Mudryk, and Todd Bowley's come in and thought, well, who are our main rivals? Well, it ain't Spurs because they're terrible. And so you look at Arsenal and go, well, they're the main rivals. Who are they after? Whoever they're after, we'll go for. Mudryk. Whatever went on in that deal, because it sounds a lot like Shakhtar benefited beyond just the money. There's talk of like the friendlies that are going on. I know it's a lot to do with the invasion, the charitable side of things, which is all great. And, anything that's supporting that cause is fantastic. But it's regarding kind of to put a 20-year-old kid, behind all of that and €100 million price. Arsenal should have, they bid, I think, something like 70 million euros in the end was our second to last bid before we went to the massive numbers that Chelsea were looking at because we really wanted him. But 70 million euros was paying over the odds for this guy. He was like a 40 to 50 million euro player, if that, and would have come to Arsenal, been behind our front three, been brought off the bench, used in the Europa League, been able to bed in, develop under a good coach. But no, he's gone to Chelsea for 100 million euros, expected to start every single game and be 100 million euros worth of player immediately.
I really feel sorry for him.
And I do feel for him. I know some Arsenal fans turn around and say, I don't feel for him, because he's gone there. I said, no, I genuinely do, because and I know he's a very good player and he's a very, very talented player. But the environment for him, just like for Potter, and Potter would do probably well to go to someone like Leicester. I think that'd be a really good place for him if he can keep them up. You can go from, start from square one with Leicester in the summer and build another project, just like Brendan Rodgers has, and go from there. But Chelsea are a mess of a club. Like, for all the people, and Mo, I know notoriously you wanted this club to spend so much so you came up with a slogan. But what you don't want as a football fan is spending like you see there. And it's just brainless, mindless FIFA video game levels of spending with no thought process. And that's unfortunately what some Arsenal fans did want to see us spending silly amounts on silly stars that were going to cost that much. Actually, no. Take the reins away from us fans, because Chelsea has been like a fan running the club, let's be honest.
Well, I don't know about that. Tom, you might have heard this. Rumour has it that Todd Bowley was talking to the press once and they spoke to him about Champions League football and they said, potentially not being in it next season. And he said to them, what are you talking about? We're permanent members. We're definitely in the Champions League next season. And they said, sorry, mate, you have to qualify for it. And he said, no, we've always been there. We're permanent. We're just in the Champions League.
No, where is this? I need to see it.
Honestly,
is it the NFL?
Apparently he went, one of his advisors told him, no, they are right. You do have to qualify. And then he came back and said, oh yeah, sorry, you're right. Now, I don't know if that's just
I need to find
like
this.
That's a
rumors.
chairman version of Ted Lasso.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's just rumors. But if it's a rumor, it's probably because. I mean, if it's true, clearly he's clueless. But if it's a rumor, it's probably because, like, look, he's not exactly a football man.
You think he bought it on under that premise as well? Then I just started to think, why did I buy
You
this?
can't.
car?
I mean, surely you can't be that stupid, right? But what he's done here, he's bought so many players that the chances of some of them failing are massively increased. If you bring in players, into a functioning team, they're probably going to rise their level. But this one is just a case of fuel swim, fuel sink. It's been nonsense. And honestly, I think fans would have done a better job than what Todd Bowley's done.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of mess of a club at the moment, it's all really, the wheels have really truly fallen off for Man United, who were once in a title race at some point and are now not struggling for even top four, losing to Newcastle, and rightly so, deservedly so, in my opinion. Newcastle outplayed them in every department with goals from Willock, who should have scored a couple, and Callum Wilson. Now, this is what I wanted to ask you guys while I got you here. Spurs are playing right now against Everton. We've got a couple of minutes to go. Spurs are playing right now against Everton. It's 0-0 at the moment. There's a real battle going on for top four here. Tom, I know you love Man United. You might want to comment on this very quickly. And then can I get a prediction for your top four?
You know. I don't know if you saw Alex Crook on TalkSport saying that I quote tweeted this. You might have seen it. He said that Eric Ten Hag has worked a miracle this season, getting United to where they're. I mean, it's an absolute farcical statement. Man United are 3 points better off this season than they were last season.
And they've shipped a lot of goals, haven't they?
After spending a stupid amount of money on some stupidly overpriced players like Lisandro Martinez, who's not worth what they paid. Anthony, who's worth like less than half of what they paid. Casemiro, they spent 70 million quid on, got sent off twice. I've never known a player have more suspensions through red cards and yellow cards than him. It's a silly amount of money that's been spent on top of all the silly amount of money that's been spent on the existing squad that was there. He's brought in players that he knows. He's brought in Malacia and Anthony from the Eredivisie, players that he's got experience with. He had a player that he had at Ajax in Van der Beek, not used him, not been able to get like what he got from him when he was at Ajax. And, you look at that situation, you go, how on earth can this guy be described as working, quote, a miracle?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm sorry. That's disgraceful punditry. Man United are a joke of a team, and I hope they continue. Look, if they get bought out by whoever and get loads of money, as we've seen, and we've just been talking about with Chelsea, it's no guarantee of success. You have to plan. You have to sign smartly. You have to appoint smartly. And I think they have appointed smart. I think Ten Hag's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. Yes. I'm not suggesting he's bad. I'm just saying he's not worked a miracle. I think he's decent. I think he'll probably do better than he has. It's a transition season for him, and he'll continue to get better. But he won't achieve his managerial potential if that club continues to make the decisions that it makes as a club. It's as simple as that.
Let's hope it continues. Top four predictions, Tom, very quickly before I go to Mo.
I'm going to go Newcastle on top of City, Arsenal, Newcastle, and can I just say Brighton just because it's the less painful answer?
I know it is a painful one.
Go Brighton.
That's what I'm doing. Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton.
Okay, so we're refusing to say the T word, yeah?
They won't get it, mate. They're dreadful. They've had 2 shots in their first half against Everton. They might still win, but they had 2 shots in the first half. It's a joke.
Oh, Brighton I've got a couple of games in hand, haven't they? Brighton, 2 games?
2 games.
Okay, then I'm going to take...
One's against City, though, I think, to be fair.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Brighton haven't got a bad record against City. I'm going to go Arsenal, City, Newcastle, Brighton. I'll go the same as you guys. Let us know in the chats and in the comments. If you haven't smacked the likes already, please do so. It really does help the channel and makes it feel worthwhile. If you're not subscribed to the channel at the moment, what you're doing, stop freeloading. Please subscribe. Hit the like buttons now. Mo, I know you need to go. So anything you'd like to add before we go now?
Nope. Apart from KSI, you absolute... Come and say the word.
Oh, yeah.
What he did.
You have to bring that one up.
Just unbelievably disappointing. Like, unbelievable that
What does this do for the Prime sponsorship as well?
It's a joke. I'm so disappointed. How a black man in this day and age, when there's so much racism, like, after games, we hear that this player has been racially abused, blah, blah, blah. He can go and say the P word as if it's not exactly the same as the N word. It's an absolute joke. And the fact that all of those people on that podcast with him, the sidemen,
all laughed with him.
Laughing, honestly, absolute disgrace. That's the last thing.
Chunks was on there, I think, as well, and a few others. I mean, my kids love watching. They watch Sidemen all the time, so it is disappointing. What can we say? It is what it is. I think it was just wanting to make people laugh and create content superseded logic. But thanks for adding that. Yeah, well done for bringing that up, Mo. Tom, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, it was really. I saw it this morning. It was really, really disheartened to see that. Yeah, hopefully gets the education he needs on the subjects. More positively, we are at TGT. We are joining forces with the Arsenal Vision podcast in helping the fundraiser that they're doing towards the Arsenal Foundation, which is doing a lot of work. Elliot recently went out to Jordan, it was Jordan, on the Syrian border to do a lot of work at one of the refugee camps and to see where the money goes.
Wow.
They've already raised £25,000. They raised 107,000 last year, so they're already on their way to doing that. I'm going to be committing. I think hopefully should we reach our target over £1,000 towards the cause as well. So yes, if you want to get involved, I've tweeted a link to the Just Giving page on my Twitter account. But yeah, if you just type in Arsenal Vision Just Giving, all the information is over there.
Yeah, please do so. Please help out with that. That's a great cause, and thank you for mentioning that, Tom. That's brilliant. Well, look, guys, it's that time we need to go. Thank you for everybody being here. Please put in the comments what you think the top four is going to be and your predictions for the Arsenal-Liverpool game. And if you want, even put in your lineup for that game. CM War Games. I'll wait to get your rundown of everything, and Tom will bring it up in our next show. That's it for us. We're going to go and eat and watch the rest of the Everton Spurs game, hoping that Everton pull off a result. And on that note, this has been the Arsenal Lounge. We are out of here. Peace out, everyone. Good night.